Buonasera a tutti e benvenuti e grazie di essere qui. Devo dire che sono felicemente sorpreso di vedere questa sala così piena, perché dovete sapere che avremmo voluto avere il professor Tawfik a marzo, quando cadeva il 120° anniversario della scoperta della tomba di Nefertari da parte della missione archeologica italiana in Egitto. Poi per due motivi dovemmo rinviarla, per il fatto che a marzo non eravamo pronti per il riallestimento sarebbe avvenuto oggi e anche il professor Tawfik non poteva venire all'epoca. Quindi avevamo stabilito il 9 agosto, che dato il clima che oggi ci accomuna molto all'Egitto, pensavo avrebbe portato a non avere nessuno in sala. Ecco, vedervi così numerosi è davvero un motivo di gioia per me, per il museo, per questo riallestimento che spero abbiate visto o tutti rivedrete presto, e per questo regalo che ci fa il professor Tawfik di essere qui oggi. Lo introduco subito in inglese, alcune parole, poi lascio la parola al professore. So Tarek, it's a great honor and pleasure to have you here. Well, a great honor tonight to have the president of the International Association of Egyptology and the vice president, which is there, Professor Willeke Vendrik. So we have the highest representation of the International Egyptological Association. I also would like to greet Daniela Picchi from CPEG and ICOM. So let's say that the international committees are represented tonight. It's an important moment for the Museo Egizio. It's another milestone for our bicentennial. Is the moment where we are celebrating the reinstallment of one of the most important part of our collection, which is the burial goods of the Queen Nefertari. After 8 years, when the Queen has been, the burial goods of her tomb were at a Hermitage in St. Petersburg. They were visited by 2.5 million people. Then it was part of an exhibition, Queens of Egypt, in Leiden, and then he went again to the United States and Canada for 8 years, and now finally back. And I can also tell you, it will not travel anymore, so it will be here, and it's part of our celebration of the bicentennial. I do hope you will have the chance to visit the exhibition. I also would like to say that next week we will have extended opening hours during Ferragosto, which is for Italian after Christmas, I think is the most important holidays, and so people will be able to come and visit also in the evening next weekend. I don't need to really present Professor Tawfik, I think, because everybody knows him, but just a few words. He had his BA and MA in Egyptology at the Faculty of Archaeology at Cairo University, his PhD in Egyptology from the University of Bonn in Germany. He is currently Associate Professor at the Faculty of Archaeology at Cairo University in the Department of Egyptology. He is President of the International Association of Egyptology since August 2023. He has been an amazing director of the Grand Egyptian Museum from 2014 and 2019, launching not only the completely scientific photo redisplay of the museum, but I do remember the annual meetings about Tutankhamun and the thoughts with the international community. Is Vice Chair of ICOM Egypt, is Director of the Center for Archaeological Studies and World Heritage in Luxor, is Deputy Head of Mission of the Excavation of the Faculty of Archaeology, Cairo University of Saqqara, and that's somewhere where we meet each other, because when we work in the field, we're really nearby, so we are like 20 meters away from each other, and we have this secret hope that one day our mission might be joined and we might work together, because in each site we find objects belonging to each other's site. Is a member of High Committee for Museum Scenarios at the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquity. Is a member of the Arab-German Young Academy of Sciences and Humanities in Berlin since 2013. Is a member of the German Archaeological Institute since December 2015. Member of the International Council of Museums. Board member of CPAG. And, well, is well known because besides being a scholar, is also, I could say, a media star. It's very often on television, radio, interviews, and newspaper. There is something that you didn't write in your resume, is that you are also an advisor, and you have been elected by the board of the Museo Egizio. You are advisor for the bicentennial at the Museo Egizio in Turin, so he's also following us, and that's one of the main reasons why we really wanted to invite you tonight. As I briefly said, the tomb of Nefertari was discovered in March 1904 by the Italian archaeological mission, which was started a year before in 1903. The discovery of the tomb was one of exceptional in kind because the decoration of the tomb makes it, the tomb of Nefertari, one of the most wonderful, preserved, even though Professor Tawfik will discuss about the difficulties of preservation and conservation nowadays and our difficulties also in site management. How can you combine such an important monument that many visitors want to see with the issues of preserving a monument that belonged to the 13th century BCE and has all the issues concerning painted decoration on plaster. It is not only that the tomb, it is so important for its decoration, it gives us very important information concerning, let's say, the second part of the New Kingdom in the Ramesside period. To me, I don't know what you think, there is one of the most beautiful representation of solar Osirian unity, that wonderful representation of Book of the Dead, chapter 138, where Osiris and Ra are merged to each other, but it also belongs to one of the most important women of ancient Egypt. She was the Hemet Veret Nesut, the great royal spouse of King Ramses II, and she managed to keep that place, which was an endeavor by itself. We know from the temple of Abu Simbel, just to quote one, the importance that it was given to her next to her husband. And so I leave the floor to you to discuss about the decoration of the tomb, to discuss about how archaeology has evolved since 120 years, and how, well, your presence here for us is very important, not only because you are the president of the International Association, not only because you are our advisor, you are also a personal friend, so I'm very personally also very happy that you're here, but also I hope that shows a new way of working together and cooperating, because in this year of the bicentennial, for us it's very important to realize how can we present Egyptian archaeology 200 years later in a strengthened relationship when the country, from the country where all these beautiful objects, which I say all the time, we have the honor to house in Italy, come from. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
So first, grazie tante, dear Christian, for your kind introduction. It is a great pleasure and honor to be in Turin. It is a great pleasure to have been asked to be an advisor for the Museo Egizio in this very special occasion, 200 years Museo Egizio. And this is something that is not a simple thing, because the whole of Egyptology as a science is only about 200 years old. So this museum actually more or less coincides with the beginning of Egyptology as a science. And today we will be going together exploring one of the most fascinating tombs that has been discovered in Egypt. And it was known from the beginning of Egyptology that there was a strong queen beside Ramses II, and that her name was Nefertari, and that she was his chief wife. But it was not until exactly 120 years ago when Ernesto Schiaparelli gave this queen a totally new identity, and we started through a fantastic tomb to see a woman of beauty, of style, and a tomb of unique way of decoration that we will explain within the next hour how it simplifies ancient Egyptian beliefs in a magnificent way. This is one of the tombs that has been planned very carefully and executed in a magnificent way. But in order to understand this tomb, we will have to start with Nefertari from the very beginning. So we go back to the time of King Seti I, the father of Ramses II. And we know nowadays that Ramses II already got married during the lifetime of his father, Seti I, and actually already Seti I saw several of his grandchildren during his life. Why is this of importance? Because in our talk, we will also be talking about the mother of Ramses II, Queen Toi, and through her, we will understand much more about the architecture of this tomb and about the art of this tomb. Normally, I don't like to talk a lot about numbers as they confuse people. But I already said that Ramses II, for nearly 10 years, was at the time of his father already married as a crown prince, with Nefertari at his side. And then we know that Ramses II is one of the kings that ruled for a long time and who died in his 90s. Nefertari dies probably in the year 24 of the reign of Ramses II, which means that they were together for 34 years. That's a long time. On the other hand, when we think about the time of Seti, and if we just have a look here, we see the art of the time of King Seti I. We see that it's some of the finest art of the 19th dynasty. We see that it is raised relief with a lot of detail and with a lot of finesse. This is something that we can only see with Ramses II in his first few years. So the fantastic statue of Ramses II here in Turin, this is in the first 10 years of Ramses II. There he is still going into details and everything is done meticulously. But later, Ramses II goes into quantity instead of quality. So, he has the most temples ever, he has the most statues ever, but it's quantity, not quality. And this is something important to understand when we are looking at the tomb of Nefertari. Because we're dealing there with some of the finest art that you can find in ancient Egypt, which is a bit in contrast to what her husband was doing at that time. He was commissioning temples and art. It must be huge, it must be quick. But this tomb will be something totally else. And we will understand why. But before we leave this picture here, just briefly have a look here. We have here Seti I, and he is offering to a goddess. What is the goddess wearing? She is wearing a tight white dress, and she is wearing the teeth knot on her belly. And we see that we have a slender figure. If we look here, we see this is Toi, the mother of Ramses II, wife of Seti I, from the Ramesseum temple of Ramses II. And this is Nefertari from the big Abu Simbel temple in the south of Egypt. And if you look at them, you will see that Nefertari is very much influenced in her way of appearance by Toi. But she will go into more elegance. It seems that she came to Milano or something, and so she will become very elegant. But the main way of representation is just a continuation of the art that was there already in the time of Seti I and continues. Looking at the tombs of both queens in the Valley of the Queens, these are the two tombs. Do you notice something? The tombs are nearly identical in architecture. So, we are heavily influenced by the time of Seti I, and it is not strange, because okay, I will have to try to go back. Yeah. So, one of the most famous big actions of Ramses II is the Battle of Kadesh against the Hittites. But what's even more famous is the peace treaty that he then had with King Hattusili of the Anatolian King Hattusili III. And at the same time, we have the royal ladies, Toi and Nefertari, both getting into correspondence with the Queen Badukheba of the Hittites. So helping with the diplomatic endeavors to maintain peace between the two countries after war. But what does this tell us? This tells us that the mother of Ramses II was there nearly the whole time of the life of Nefertari. Because the mother, Toi, we know that she died approximately in the 22nd, 23rd year of the reign of Ramses II. And Nefertari dies in the 24th year. So both queens, the mother and the wife, the chief wife, were there. And it seems that they got along quite well because they have their tombs beside each other. The architecture is the same. Colleagues have proposed that the tomb of Toi was prepared in the time of Ramses II. I do not agree, because the art inside the tomb of Toi is the art and the raised relief of the time of Seti I. And it makes total sense that the tomb was started as soon as she was chief wife, mother of the heir, so well within the life of Seti I. When we come to Nefertari, it's the same thing. Nefertari, after being married 10 years to Ramses II, she manages, when he becomes pharaoh, to remain Hemet Nesuweret. She remains the chief wife. And now it becomes interesting. At that point, she will also start preparing her tomb. She is the preferred wife of Ramses II. And what does he give her for this? He gives her unlimited resources for this tomb, and he provides her with the best craftsmen from the village of the workmen, from Deir el-Medina. And then you must imagine that she had over 20 years' time to have this tomb decorated. And I personally think that we are here in front of a seldom situation where the queen really oversaw the decoration of her tomb herself and chose what kind of decoration she wanted to have in this tomb. And it seems, because of the beauty that she is shown in, that the artisans really got the chance to see this queen and to depict the real thing. This was not a normal program of art that was known and that was just being repeated. This is a very unique tomb in the way it was decorated from the inside. But Queen Nefertari was not only diplomatically active with the Hittites, she also got to be very present in the very south of Egypt at the borders, in Abu Simbel. So here in the south of Egypt, Abu Simbel. And this is very important because Egypt, even with its current borders today, is very much Egypt from 5,000 years ago. Why so? Because this was the Egyptian cosmos. So the land of Egypt, with its borders, this was the Egyptian cosmos. And everything that was outside of this cosmos was danger, was chaos, had to be repelled. And what happens here in Abu Simbel, with a very unusual temple, we of course know we have two temples there. This huge temple here, the temple of King Ramses II himself, a rock-cut temple. The statues are 20 meters high. So imagine yourself now as an invader coming from the south and looking at this statue. So he's already 20 meters high sitting. How tall will he be when he stands up? So Egyptian superiority is being projected, and is Nefertari part of it? Yes. Here she is. Here she is in detail. But this, because this is the main temple. This is the main statement. This is also showing at the lower part here on both sides all the prisoners from the enemies of Egypt under the feet of the king. But this is a very hostile message. So what will this other temple give? What message will it provide? It provides a totally different message. We have the queen, Nefertari, twice representing the goddess Hathor. So she gets to represent Hathor in the face of the enemies, but as what? She is the one who comes as a kind of person to provide a possibility of peace, a possibility of tranquility, showing that it's not only superiority in war, but interestingly, when we go inside, we will find her here, Nefertari, with the Hathor crown in front of the goddess Anuket. Here, Nefertari again, and here the triad of Elephantine, so Aswan, the south of Egypt, the ram-headed god Khnom, Satet, and Anuket. And Anuket has a lot of feathers on her hand. This is a very African aspect. So actually what's happening here is that a kind of mediation is happening with the south. So, although the big temple is indicating we are here, the border that cannot be breached, but at the same time, they want to maintain good relations out of two reasons. Water, because it's coming from the south, and trade. So who is the person who, beside the king who is smiting, is showing the more relaxed figure? It's Nefertari. And she is the one, the chosen one. It's not any of his other wives. It's not Iset Nofret, not the mother of the king, later king Merentah. It's Nefertari. Nefertari is the one who helps Ramses II build his empire. And we come to Ernesto Schiaparelli, who 120 years ago gave us this present of discovering the tomb of Nefertari. And the tomb is, of course, in the Valley of the Queens, as we said, beside the tomb of Toi, the mother of Ramses II. And of course, we are celebrating also today the opening of a new gallery or a new display for the pieces that were discovered inside the tomb of Nefertari. Although these pieces are only a few, but they provide a very personal touch when it comes to the queen. The tomb, these are only walls and paintings. But these pieces, they provide a real human link to this queen. And there are also some things that we still have to go into depth with. So although 120 years, but not all questions have yet been answered. And on purpose, I've shown here only a small picture so that you are all forced to come and visit the exhibition again and look in detail what I will be telling you now. So, the first thing is, it's always said that we don't know exactly anything about the roots of Nefertari. Who was she? Who were her parents? True, but we have indications. And one of the indications is this little blue knob of a chest with the name of King I, who succeeded Tutankhamun. And we have, for 120 years now, been asking ourselves, what is the connection? In Akhmim, and King I was coming from Akhmim, in the middle of Egypt, we have a huge statue of a queen. Normally, when you look in the references, it will tell you that it is Merit Amun, the daughter of Ramses II. Yes, but the art tells us something else. Aidan Dodson has pointed out that the statue here most probably was King Thea, the wife of King I. And looking at the facial features, we will see that they have some little remnants of the Amarna art. So, this is Thea. And when we look at the posture, this is very well could be an ancestor of Nefertari. So having this knob inside the tomb might be a reference to her ancestors, and not any ancestors, of course, to the royal ancestors, the ones that she is most proud of. He was king, and she was the wife of the king. When we come to the architecture of the tomb, we see that it is a tomb that looks quite small, but actually the space was used in an amazing way. And we start entering and then go down a total of 12 meters into the world of the dead. This upper part here is an entrance part and a part connected to the sun, the solar part of the tomb mainly. And this is the Osirian part. And this part here is amazing because it's the connecting part between both. Christian Leblanc spent a lot of time studying this tomb and the religious part of it. And he did a fantastic work in explaining and in trying to find a path through this tomb. And for him, it is the path for the soul of the queen. I will agree with him on most of what he's saying, but I will not agree that it's the path for the soul. It's actually the different stages that the queen needs to ensure the resurrection. And the way Christian had explained it, we start here, entering the Osiris sphere, the realm of the dead, going down all of this part here dedicated to Osiris, with the sarcophagus in the middle. This is the peak for Osiris in the west. And then we come out again and go into the northern part of the tomb. And this northern part is amazing, because this is the part where the transformation happens from the dead to the living. And in a way that ensures it for everybody, not only for this queen. And this is the amazing thing about this tomb, that it goes into the essence of ancient Egyptian religion, different than any other tomb. And what makes this tomb different and difficult sometimes to understand is that colleagues have often tried to either do a comparison with royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings or with tombs of nobles. But no, actually this is a different category. It's a category in between, because it's not the tomb of a king. And here we must also differentiate between Nefertari, who was only a chief royal wife. She was not a ruling queen. She was not Hatshepsut. She was not Tawesret. She is only a royal wife. So we are putting her now into perspective. And we see that she gets a fantastic tomb, that she most probably was overseeing herself. And let's enter the tomb now together. So the first thing that we will see on our right hand when we enter is that Nefertari is worshipping Osiris, behind him Anubis. So first, the target is made clear. We are going towards the netherworld. And these two gods are the ones who have to be pacified in order to ensure that she will be able to surpass the judgment day. When going to descend now into the tomb, the first thing we see at the top are the four sons of Horus, who we normally see on the canopic jars, their heads. So they are the protectors of the intestines, because we are entering the tomb. We are entering the place where the body will be put. Interestingly, and here I'm telling you, this tomb was done with precision for this queen, and not something that was a program of decoration that was repeated. This, one of the four sons of Horus, normally is Duamut F, with the head of a jackal. And this, with the head of a falcon, is Qabh Sinu F. But in this tomb, the two names were exchanged. Please don't tell me that in a royal tomb of this quality, the ancient Egyptians made a mistake. No. Actually, Dua Mut F means the one who praises his mother. The name itself, translated, means the one who praises his mother. And it shows, the artist chose the one that has the falcon head. So the one that looks like Horus, who strangely is shown a second time here. And let's keep this in mind. Horus and Duamut F, which means the one who praises his mother. And we will return to this in a moment. But let us go deeper into the tomb. So, we have Nefertari entering, and she meets, or she presents offerings to Hathor, to Serqet, to Ma'at, all female goddesses. So the female goddesses are very much represented inside this tomb, out of good reason. I will tell you why. This picture looks a bit dark. Actually, this is the way you see it when you enter the tomb. We are sometimes annoyed about it, especially if we want to take photos, and the photos don't turn out that well. But you have to imagine that I was saying we are going 12 meters down. The artist or the artisans were working at this depth with candlelight or with different kind of light. At any rate, it cannot have been very bright. So, the choice also of having the white color as a background was a very wise choice, because it allowed for the scenes to be much more clear. And we see here Nefertari giving the new jars to Hathor and to Isis. So Hathor is very prominently represented here in this tomb. Let us remember for a moment, for whom was the main temple in Abu Simbel built? For Ramses II. But the second temple was built for Nefertari and Hathor. Going deeper into the tomb, we need more protection. So we will find Anubis, the protector. And here, when we start looking at the tombs of Deir al-Medina, we will find the same Anubis. So the artists were here actually taking from all the different resources and mixing to provide a new fantastic repertoire for the tomb of Nefertari. Then we are entering the burial chamber. And what will happen in the burial chamber? From there, the heart of Nefertari will be put on the scale of Ma'at. So Ma'at is the one who is here protecting the entrance. So more or less, the ancient Egyptian is already preparing that everything should go smoothly. Ma'at is already protecting. She will not fail Nefertari in the judgment. We enter into the realm of Osiris, the world of the dead. The pictures are dark, which is fitting. Even the background of Osiris, who is shown a lot in the tomb, is yellow. So even at the time of Nefertari, he would have not been that shining as the other scenes. And it's not only Osiris who is being shown, but also the jet pillar, which is of course connected to Osiris, which is a symbol of Osiris, but which shows stability and enduring life afterwards. So what does she want? She wants to have the everlasting life after the encounter with the life of the death with Osiris. When entering into the burial chamber, we see two priests, but they are not real sons of Nefertari. They are Horus, the pillar of his mother. So, again, Horus is being used as a mediator. And we remember that we had Duamut F at the outside. So she is using Horus, and she is using the sons of Horus as mediators to have a better chance with the big judgment of Osiris. On the walls of this burial chamber, we have scenes from the chapters 144 and 146 and 148 from the Book of the Dead. These scenes show the guardians of the entrance to the world of the dead. And Queen Nefertari is addressing them in order to ensure her passage into the other world. These scenes normally you find on papyri, but here they are used for a queen also to ensure that she will enter the realm of the dead or the world of the dead. Although these monsters, these genie that are protecting the doors should be frightening, they are done in such a beautiful way that you cannot really get frightened even from this monster here, who is called the one with the flaming ears. And the beautiful thing is, look even at the faces of all of the gods and genies, and they are all inspired by the face of Nefertari. So, the artisan here gives all the female figures in the whole tomb, the face of the queen. In my personal opinion, this also has a meaning. We go out from the burial chamber, and we are back in the first level, and now we go towards the north. So, this was the first thing we saw. Here was Osiris. Here is Anubis, the first thing you see when you enter the tomb. Here is Osiris. So this was the Osiris route going down to the burial chamber. And now you have to admire the planning and the design of the ancient Egyptians. So this is the Osirian level. And then we have here the goddess Serqet and the goddess Neat, two protective goddesses in the whole size like the queen. Then we have here the sun at dawn, Khepri. Here we have the sun, Ra Akhti, the sun in the center of the sky. And here, at the very end, we will see in the next photo a bit clearer, we have Atum, which is the sun, the aged sun, the dying sun, the fading sun, and we have Osiris. So actually, what we have here is that we are moving in layers from the Osirian sphere to the solar sphere to the completion of the transformation sphere. And when you're standing inside of the tomb, you can see all of this in front of you, the three spheres behind each other. Here you can see that behind Khepri will be a tomb here. And here's the amazing art, how they were able to have a human figure and the scarab be united in a way that we don't feel strange. How did they do it? Easy. They used the wig. The wig is the trick. So with this wig, they're able to provide this transition between the beetle and the human body in a way that doesn't make it strange. The same thing is with Anubis, for instance. If you would put only a jackal head, it would look strange. But once you put the wig, it does this transformation between the two, the animal and the human figure. Going towards this final scene of Osiris and Atum, we have here Isis on one side taking Nefertari to Khepri. And I want you to notice something here. Please notice that the feet are bare. The feet are bare. So here they are going to Khepri. On the other side, Horus is taking Nefertari to Rahu Akhti. And what we have here is that we have the companion of Osiris, which is Isis, and the son, who is Horus. They are the ones from the Osirian sphere who are taking Nefertari towards the solar sphere. So we have this completion between both spheres. And before we enter to this final room where the resurrection happens, who do we encounter again? Ma'at. Because everything must happen within the concept of Ma'at, the concept of balance, of justice, of cosmic order. And then, finally, we have the grand finale. We have the picture or the representation that is representing the chapter 144 from the Book of the Dead. And it's more or less Nefertari offering to Osiris and offering to Atum. And with this showing that she has really came out victorious over the challenge of beating death. On one of the sides of the room, we have the 7 Hathors with the bull, which is again the chapter 144 from the Book of the Dead. But why do we have her here? Or why have we the 7 Hathors here? Again, because of the strong connection of Nefertari with Hathor. She chooses what to be put inside this tomb. There is no plan, there is no master plan for a royal tomb, for a royal wife's tomb. So she chooses what to be used. On the other hand, or on the other side, we have Nefertari in front of the god of wisdom, Jehuti, or Tehot. And because in the middle here we have the writing equipment, it has been suggested that Nefertari was capable of reading and writing. And also because of the letters that she sent to Budukhiba, the queen of the Hittites. But these letters don't mean anything, because there could have been, of course, writers writing the letters for her. But here really, putting this writing equipment in front of the god Jehuti might be hinting at her being literate and being able to read and write. We come to one of the most celebrated scenes in this tomb, which is here, the sun god, And on the side is written, Ra, Pu, Hetep em Osir, Osir, Hetep em Ra. It is he, Ra, who rests in Osir, in Osiris, and it is Osiris who rests in Ra. This you could imagine as a circle, which means that the sun goes down into the netherworld, and then it will come up again. It will go to the center of the sky, and it will go down again. And the whole story will start again. What happens? Ra, Pu, Hetep em Osir. And the important thing is, the difference between the two sides is Pu, which means it is he. So the emphasis here is on Ra. Ra is the main god in ancient Egypt. So it is he, Ra, who rests in the night, who rests in death in Osiris. And then, on the other hand, Osiris also rests in Ra. And so the circle continues. This is really putting ancient Egyptian belief in a nutshell, in a way that is strange, that we have not seen often repeated in ancient Egypt. And it shows that there was a lot of thought that went into the preparation of this tomb. On the other hand, we had also Nefertari presenting to the god Ptah. So she is being ensured from all sides that she will make it, that she will be successful. The gods of the netherworld are being addressed, are being given offerings in order for her to surely be resurrected. We come to the very final part of the tomb, and here it becomes interesting. This is when you enter the tomb, it is to your left side. And we see first the queen sitting and playing the Senate game. And we have read and heard a lot that the Senate game is more or less the ancient Egyptians are playing to, sometimes it's written, and I don't agree with this, against their fate. No, they're not playing against their fate. They're playing to ensure their fate. So it's like, it's a board game, and on this board game are written different challenges. And you have to surpass these challenges. So actually, by playing the game successfully, you can already make it. You can already become an imahu, you can already become an enlightened one. All the scenes inside the tomb, Nefertari is barefoot. She's not wearing sandals, because all of these scenes are religious scenes that are connected with performance of ritual and things that will happen in the second life after death, and things where she is directly connected with other gods. Gods are holding her by the hand. So this is a holy act. And out of piety, she is barefoot. But here, she is wearing her sandals, because this is something she is doing during life in preparation for her death. In the middle, we have the barbird, which is, of course, her soul. And this is the one that will go in and out of the tomb freely. And then we have her sitting and adoring. And please look at her feet. She's wearing the sandals. That's strange, because what's the next scene? Here she is sitting with her sandals, adoring the horizon, the upcoming sun. Why is she wearing the sandals? Because if she is now adoring the upcoming sun again, she has made it. She has beaten the challenges of the netherworld, and she is performing Peret Emheru. She is coming forth by day. Here we see that the body is shown, her mummy. This is the chapter 17 from the Book of the Dead. But strangely, although she's a woman, there is a beard, because she wants to become Osiris. So here, although she's a beautiful woman who seems to have been very aware of her beauty, but the idea here is not being beautiful, the idea is becoming Osiris. Becoming Osiris in order to be able to have then the rebirth and the resurrection. There is one scene here that is not very clear, but if we look carefully, we will find here a menat, which is the tool of the goddess Hathor. So Hathor was already also present here in the first room of the tomb. The relation with Hathor has been again and again, here again inside the tomb, Nefertari in front of Hathor. This was a very special relation. She can be seen as the special patron of Queen Nefertari. Hathor is the special patron of Queen Nefertari. Nefertari also is here in front of Osiris, of the goddess of the West, and here Anubis. Also a special relation to Anubis, and Anubis is putting his hand on the goddess of the West. With this, she wants to ensure that her body remains safe in her tomb in order for her to be resurrected. So every measures are being taken to ensure her resurrection. Here we have the goddess of the West welcoming Nefertari. And there is a very small, interesting detail here. When we look at the arms of Nefertari, we will see here what some colleagues like to call a tattoo. Well, a tattoo is not that easy to make if you want to have it colored. That is something very modern. So the tattoo in the past would have been mainly black. But actually, I would like to see this as arm bracelets. here with a nice pendant in the form of the ujat. And the white that we see here would be either silver or white gold, which was called jam in ancient Egypt. But in view of the great relations between Egypt and Anatolia at that time, and the silver was coming from Anatolia, I would think that this most probably was silver that we have here. So this is probably arm jewelry and not a tattoo, although the tattoo would be more fashionable right now. The beautiful queen is very specific about her jewelry. So we have these timeless earrings, and they're earrings that have a hook, so they go through the ear. They would be even very popular today. These ones in the form of a cobra, where it had even inlays, 2 different designs, and even a third design where we have them double-sided. Probably made out of silver, as we were probably getting quite a lot of silver from Anatolia at that time. But at the end, in the burial chamber, Nefertari is never wearing an earring. So she stops wearing earrings before entering the burial chamber, because there she goes into the direct relation with the goddesses. And the goddesses also don't wear earrings. So she actually becomes one of them. She enters the pantheon of the gods. To sum up at the end, we have to say just a few words about the restoration of this tomb. The fantastic work that was done already by the Italians when the tomb was discovered, and later by the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities and the Paul Getty Institute, they really did magnificent work, because this tomb suffers from crystallization of rock salt. And because the rock in this part of the Valley of the Queens is not of very good quality, the ancient Egyptian artisans put more than 1 layer of gypsum plaster on the wall. This has the big disadvantage that now these layers are actually peeling off the wall. The crystallizing of the rock salt leads to a division between the layers, and then big parts of the plaster fall off. So it was fantastic restoration work that was done a few decades ago now. The tomb was opened to the public. Only 1,000 are allowed per day. Then we raised the ticket price to £1,000. With the devaluation of the Egyptian pound, we will raise the entrance fees again in order to have a grip on the amount of visitors visiting the tomb, because the perspiration of the visitors helps to really increase the crystallization happening. Fungi are also a problem, but not that big. But it's not only the perspiration. Being in such a desert area, we have seasonally a difference in humidity between 20 and 45%, which is a huge difference, which creates also big problems for the conservation and preservation of this tomb. So right now, the tomb is closed again. Conservation work is being done, and monitoring systems will be put in place all over the tomb in order to try to get a grip on the deterioration of this tomb, in order for us to be able to hand it over to future generations to admire what Ernesto Schiaparelli put his eyes on for the first time 120 years ago. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Tarek, for this wonderful journey that you made us do through the tomb. Connected to what you were saying, both dating at the very beginning of her reign, of her role as a royal spouse, so at the beginning of Ramses II, where artists probably who had worked in the tomb of Seti I were working here. I think there is also another interesting connection that could be made concerning the very moment, because now we know that actually we can say that with Seti I really ends the Amarna theology. When in 1941 Piankov published the tomb of Horemheb, Ramses I, and he said we are back to, the heresy was gone, back to tradition. Actually was not true, because only with Seti I the Amduat comes back, and before we have the Book of Gates. So also the strong accent and underlining on this solar Osirian unity, which really means that Amarna has really come to an end. And we know the force of Seti I is really not only stylistically, but how you explain us also theologically, to put it actually at the beginning of the reign of Ramses II, in the continuation of what his father was also doing in re-establishing actually the orthodoxy. Well, thank you for, and I want to add something for whoever who comes to visit our gallery. You will be able to redo the journey that Professor Tawfik explained us today, because not only there is this wonderful, literally 3D model done by Schiaparelli, because Schiaparelli found the tomb, he documented the tomb, but then he had something in mind. How can I show the tomb to my public in the museum? And so he did this wonderful wooden model in scale 1 to 10, and imagine how difficult it was, because you only had black and white photos, so he had to send an artist to Egypt to paint on the model, and based on that, he really did 3D models, also with little stairs so children could go and see. And I always had admired that, because for me, he showed how Schiaparelli was, on one hand, a field archaeologist. On one hand, was a real museum director that understood how important it was for this museum, for the people coming to the museum, to realize what a discovery had done. Because as Professor Tawfik showed us, the burial goods that he brought back to Turin are, well, very important for us, of course. I also agree that the knot with the name of I is my favorite object as well, also because it shows the attachment to an object, the pass on the family. But compared to the wonderful decoration of the tomb, the burial goods that were brought to Turin is something really simple and poor. But so he realized that in order to show the importance of this model is important. That's why we have given the model in the new display a really central part, and behind it there is the journey that now you can do virtually through the model. And as Professor Tawfik was saying, this model, by the way, was very important when the Paul Getty Research Institute decided to go to Egypt. Actually, they came here to Turin, and Guido Couto probably remember when his father was working as a director here, because this model was so important to see the colors, to see the original colors, to know how to start working. It also shows how museums are also important for documentation and for preservation, as you are saying. But I would like to give you the chance that since we have Professor Tawfik here, if there are any questions or comments, yes.
Beh, innanzitutto grazie per aver descritto questo periplo notturno stupendo. Volevo ringraziarla per aver descritto magnificamente il periplo notturno della regina, ma vorrei ritornare sul coperchio, su quel pezzo in faience blu in cui compare il nome di Ai. È molto particolare questo, perché nella lista di Abido noi passiamo da Amenhotep III, passiamo ad Horemheb. Com'è possibile che in una tomba appartenente alla XIX dinastia ci sia un reperto di un sovrano ritenuto assolutamente eretico? Ci può essere, lei prima ha accennato a un eventuale legame, potrebbe esserci un legame, non lo sapremo perché non abbiamo nella mummia di Ai, e non so se i pezzi che abbiamo di Nefertari siano veri o no, perché c'erano dei pezzettini delle ossa di gambe che non sono più stati messi. Quindi noi non abbiamo assolutamente il DNA di ambedue, ma qual è la sua opinione? Perché c'è un pomello, cioè perché potrebbe esserci un pomello legato ad Ai in questa tomba?
Actually, Tutankhamun plays a much bigger role than previously given to him in the history of ancient Egypt. Because I have recently published 2 articles which mainly show that the role of Tutankhamun was not only putting back Amun in place, but it was also the return to Osiris. And with these 2 actions, the old order was restored. And the people were happy with this. Horemheb, as a general, wants now to have these things more established. Ai is just a transition. And I don't think that the family of Ai was affected or prosecuted in any way. So, especially if he, as Aidan Dodson proposes, also like retreated a little towards his hometown, Akhmim, then there, this family could have continued and perspired. And it is not strange that the royal family would look for girls of good origin as wives for the king. And actually Ramses II himself says in one of his texts that his first wives were chosen for him by his father. And they would not choose anybody. So this is not choosing somebody from the commoners, but you need somebody from royal blood. And this was not so easy at that time, because we had this interruption of Echnaton. We had the interruption of the royal blood. So I personally think that there is a good chance of Nefertari being a descendant of Ai.
To answer your other question concerning the knees. The knees are not on display now for a good reason. We've thought a lot about that. You know that we are going to, we've applied an ethical code concerning the display of human remains, like we've done in the room In Search of Life. And so the curiosity of seeing part of a body which has been dismembered does not belong to the way we approach human remains nowadays. So out of respect, we have decided that this part of the knees will not be there. As you remember, a few years ago, analysis had been done, and then people try to jump to conclusions and say, oh, well, we have the knees of Nefertari. We cannot say whether we have the knees of Nefertari. There are two kinds of, out of the analysis have come out that they are could perfectly fit a woman in the 30s, which was buried according to the ritual and the mummification of the New Kingdom, so that's perfectly fit. The C14 carbon dating, though, was problematic because, well, the date would be at least 200 years above to what nowadays we think that is the date of Nefertari. But don't enter in this discussion about chronology because we go into very thin line. I always remember an article of Professor Van Dijk where he says, well, actually, we should reconsider all our chronology. There is nothing stable. Well, so we keep some points of stability, but according to the chronology that we apply nowadays, there would be this shift. Anyway, it is impossible to say with certainty whether these are the knees of the queen. Because the tomb had been plundered, because there was a lot of flash floods with material also coming from outside, so we cannot say for certainty, but they are not on display for the new policy that we have, and the policy is actually that we want to exhibit human remains with dignity. Remember that there were people, and we want to exhibit them with the burial goods that they belong to, with dignity that humankind deserve. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes.
Good evening, and I'm very interested in the possible hieroglyphs and adjective to Nefertari, if we have some, and the way that the scribe will describe the queen. Thank you.
Nefertari is referred to always inside the tomb as the Hemet Nesutweret, which means the chief royal wife. But not only that. there are some royal attributes from her titles that are being used as well, because she had the title Nefertari, which means the lady of the two lands. And there is a referral to this also by using the Neb sign, which means lady, and by having cobras wearing the crowns of Upper and Lower Egypt. So there is this like hidden referral to her royal role as well. But she is referred to always as a female with the normal T letter, that is the T of femininity, ending at each word that is referring to her. So this is very normal. The only thing is, as I said, that we tend to confuse a queen that is ruling and the queen who is only the chief wife. So she was a very influential chief wife, but not a ruling queen.
Thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful lecture. You give some attention to the sandals, where she wears them, where she don't wear them. And I would like to ask all of you, when you see the exhibit, look at her sandals, because we have them. Studying basketry is one of my specializations, and these are the most exquisite sandals you've ever seen, made from very simple materials, but in beautiful, beautiful technique. But that was not the question. I was wondering, Tarek, you talk a lot about her role in diplomacy, and in a way, this tomb is also religiously diplomatic with this. Do you think there could be something in that vein, that it's really a way to have this Osirian and solar religion combined, but also almost in an internally diplomatic way?
Yes. First, thank you, Mrs. Vice President. We work very well together, actually. I was her Vice President first. Now we just changed. So, yes, actually, there is discussion between colleagues, but I would totally go in this direction, and I've also written this before concerning Tutankhamun, for instance. I do believe that starting from the time of Tutankhamun, the tombs and their decoration were a kind of accessible messaging system. Not all the time accessible, but through the workmen. And actually, Deir al-Medina itself shows that we had a whole community, and this museum here tells us about the life of these people, and that they were not by any means really only confined or prisoners to this city. They went on strikes, they went out of the city, so the information that was happening inside the tombs was disseminating. They were giving this information out. So in the tomb of Tutankhamun, for instance, one of the main messages, in my opinion, was back to Osiris. So the message, don't worry, what Echnaton had done, he had deprived you from Osiris. No, we are back to Osiris. And this is why I think in the tomb of Tutankhamun, everything was so eye-catching. everything was so golden. His tomb is at the entrance of the Valley of the Kings, in order for the people to really see, we are going back to the west, we are going back to Osiris. And the same could apply here to the tomb of Nefertari, where this idea of Ra, Hetep, and Osir, and Osir, Hetep, and Ra, that this idea is, and maybe I can show one picture here. This is at the very entrance of the tomb. And at the very entrance of the tomb, we have the sun setting between the two kites, between the two birds, Isis and Nephthys. And this is what I see above me going into the tomb, because the queen is setting like the sun. She's going down like the sun. But what's very interesting is up here we have another sun, and we have again Isis and Nephthys. But this is the scene that I see from the outside. This is the upcoming sun. The special thing here is that in both cases I have Isis and Nephthys, which is the Osirian aspect, which means that again here he is emphasizing the same idea of Ra, Hetep, and Osir, Hetep, and Ra. Ra is resting in Osiris, and Osiris is resting in Ra. And one thing, these sandals are really amazing. But another thing that's amazing me, and I think we have to all start trying to study it. The Ushaptis are really horrible. So I cannot understand how artisans and the lady who had such a beautiful tomb can have such horrible Ushaptis.
So I would like to, before saying goodbye to you and thanking again Professor Tarek Tawfik, I would like to, you mentioned in the very beginning, talking about diplomacy, the peace treaty of Kadesh. I would like to remind you that we are very lucky because we are one of the 3 institutions in the world that has a copy. The Embassy of Turkey gave us a copy of the peace treaty. One is in the United Nations, was given in 1946. Of course, the original is in the museum in Topkapi in Istanbul. Well, the original, yes, it's original in clay. The original in silver has not been preserved, unfortunately, like many pieces of metallurgy, precious metallurgy from antiquity. But when you go to Istanbul, you see the peace treaty in clay. Then in 1946, when they opened the United Nations in New York, they gave it, and when you go to New York, it's amazing because you enter, the first thing you see is this replica of a clay tablet, and now we have it here. We are all living in difficult moments. We are all very worried about what is happening in a neighboring country where this peace treaty was signed, and now we are living a very difficult moment. So let's hope that this peace treaty that was compelling, not only for those who signed, but for their sons for 9 generations. Let's hope that somebody reminds about it and we can have a better word. So it's very important. It's in our gallery of writing, and is a very important sign of peace in this difficult and troubled reality we are living in our contemporary society. Let me end also thanking those who have worked in working for the refurbishing of the room. The curator, Enrico Ferrari e Cinzia Soddu. Then I would like to thank Virginia Cimino, who is the project manager. Enrico Barbero has done an amazing work. Piera Luisolo, who's our graphic designer, she has done something really beautiful in the show, in the cases, with the beautiful original pictures. I mean, we have the glass negative, but now we have these expanded pictures that show the very moment when the tomb was discovered, and I think gives a very nice background to the objects, that they feel a little bit at home in their landscape. And all the collection management team, really a big thank to all the team, communication, everybody who has been working hard, because we closed the museum for 3 weeks. You have seen that we have building everywhere, and I also have to apologize with my team, because I always add on. So when I say, well, we're closing, and then we have to open Nefertari, and so I apologize for pushing all the time, but we do it for you. And the next opening will be on the 4th of October, when we will open a new gallery called Materia, Forma del Tempo, and then of course the 20th of November, when the President of the Republic will come, where Professor Tawfik will be back, and we will start the celebration of the bicentennial. So thank you all for being here, and have a nice evening and a nice summer. We will keep working for you to improve the museum in the next few months.
I just would like to add one word, not as an Egyptologist, but as a former museum director. Christian Greco is one of the best museum directors in the world. And just looking at this exhibition, you will see how he was able to combine between tradition, this fantastic model, 3D model made by the team of Ernesto Schiaparelli more than 100 years ago. In Egypt, this would be an antiquity already now. And at the same time, putting behind it and making it an integral part of a modern, interactive tool. This is not easy, and there is a lot of thinking happening, and there is a lot of love for this place and its tradition, its 200-year tradition. It is seldom that you find somebody who has this loyalty to his country and to his museum.